International News Edition. Prime Minister Abdullah Mansour receives the Anti-Corruption Commission's report for the year 2012 and voices the government's appreciation for the Commission's efforts to combat corruption. At least 25 people are killed and 30 wounded in a car bomb explosion in a busy market in northeastern Iraq. And Iran says major differences remain on the second day of the closed-door nuclear talks in Geneva. Good evening and welcome to the news. Prime Minister Abdullah Mansour received the Anti-Corruption Commission's, the ACC report for the year 2012 from President of the Commission, Samih Binu. According to the report, the Commission dealt with 303 cases, 73 of which were referred to courts. It decided not to take any action on 139 complaints because there was no evidence to support them. The report also highlighted accomplishments that have been achieved by the ACC in terms of enforcing the law, as well as efforts it exerted with the public and private sectors and civil society institutions to spread awareness and fight corruption. Mansour voiced the government's appreciation for the Commission's efforts to combat corruption, pointing to the political will of His Majesty the King, as well as the government to follow up on corruption cases and refer them to courts. Royal Court Chief Faiz Al-Tarauni met with participants in the second Arab-European Economic Forum, which kicked off in Amman yesterday. Tarauni said the event would provide an opportunity to boost economic cooperation between Arab and European countries. The Royal Court Chief spoke about privileges offered by the kingdom's economy, as well as the security and stability that Jordan enjoys, and which makes it an attractive investment destination. He said Jordan is working to implement policies and programs to develop the national economy, as well as infrastructure and legislation. Over to Iraq, where a car bomb exploded in a busy market in the northeastern part of the country, killing at least 25 people and wounding more than 30. The attack took place in Saidiyah, 65 kilometers northeast of the capital. A bomb also went off inside a cafe in Baghdad, killing 5 civilians and injuring 17 others. The blast took place in the city's Bay'a district. Nearly 1,000 Iraqis were killed in October, according to figures from the United Nations, which has called on political leaders to cooperate to end the violence in the country. Iraq said its security forces have not fired anything towards the border with Saudi Arabia after the kingdom said 6 mortar shells landed near a remote Saudi border post. Saudi officials said the bombs landed close to neighboring fellow oil producers Iraq and Kuwait, but caused no damage. An Iranian-backed Iraqi Shiite militia said it had fired the 6 mortar bombs into Saudi Arabia's desert as a warning message to the kingdom to stop interfering in Iraqi affairs. The global chemical weapons watchdog is urgently seeking commercial firms to destroy toxins from Syria's poison gas arsenal. It is trying to find a Mediterranean port where the deadliest chemicals can first be processed offshore. The Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons is expected to ask companies formally to bid for commercial contracts to trade around 800 tons of bulk industrial chemicals that are safe to destroy in commercial incinerators. The OPCW would need to find a port in the area where it can oversee the offshore work and then ship out the waste products. Earlier, Albania abruptly withdrew an offer to host the destruction facility. On the ground, at least 4 people were killed, including 1 woman, and 10 injured in a mortar attack in the city of Aleppo. The attack took place as employees were making their way to the entrance of a municipality building in the city. Iran is meeting in Geneva with the 5 permanent UN Security Council members and Germany to discuss a deal on its nuclear program. Iran warned major differences remain on the second day of the closed-door nuclear talks. Major powers were struggling to finalize an interim deal to curb Tehran's nuclear program in exchange for sanctions relief. This report has more.
Like clockwork, representatives for the European Union, the United States, Russia, China, and Iran meet in Geneva for another round of talks. Once again, the subject of those talks, negotiating a deal to curb Iran's nuclear program. EU Foreign Policy Chief Catherine Ashton and Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif met Wednesday afternoon, and Ashton's spokesman, Michael Mann, told journalists that their positive meeting showed a commitment to reaching a deal.
High Representative Ashton has come here determined to make further progress to drive the process forward. The fact that these talks are so soon after the last round is, I think, a sign of the seriousness of the negotiations.
Diplomats close to the negotiations say Western powers are close to winning concessions from Iran in exchange for some sanctions relief. Still, Mann admits the talks could drag on.
There's never been a deadline. I mean, we have made a great deal of progress in the last two rounds, and we hope to continue that progress in this round. And I can say it again, we just want to, reach an agreement as quickly as we can, but it has to be the right agreement. Therefore, it will take as long as it takes. But we're not here to talk for the sake of talking.
The talks will continue until Friday.
Rival Libyan militias surrendered their bases to the army and retreated from Tripoli in the face of popular anger against their refusal to disarm in the past 2 years. Libya's chaotic struggle to control militia fighters and Islamist militants has become an increasing worry for Western powers. They were concerned that violence in the OPEC country could spill over to its North African neighbors. At Mitiga Air Base, militias said they would turn over control to the army. The powerful Al-Qaqa brigades also handed over their base. U.S. Ambassador to Jordan, Stuart Jones, held a lecture entitled U.S.-Jordanian Partnership at the University of Jordan. In his lecture, attended by a number of university staff and more than 150 students, Jones stressed their strong ties and various scopes of cooperation between Jordan and the United States.
The United States-Jordanian partnership is something that the United States is very proud of. It's a security partnership, it's assistance partnership, it's a trade partnership. The free trade agreement has created more than 50,000 jobs here in Jordan. And what the students were asking for was, why does the United States do this? Why are you engaging Jordan? And I think it's because we have mutual interests here in the region. We have interests in peace. We have interests in the prosperity of the people of this region, especially here in Jordan. And we want to work together. And we have tremendous partners here in Jordan who want to work together to create greater peace and stability, most importantly with His Majesty King Abdullah.
Who said marriages wouldn't last? An American couple, John and Ann Bitar, will celebrate their 81st wedding anniversary in Connecticut, the United States. The story of their marriage started when they eloped in 1932, fleeing their close-knit Syrian neighborhood in Bridgeport, Connecticut, and driving as fast as they could to Harrison, New York, to avoid Ann's father's plans to marry him off to a man 20 years older. The couple were named on Valentine's Day by Worldwide Marriage Encounter as 2013's longest married couple in America. John Bitar, who's now 102 years old, recalled how mad the family was about their elopement and how his wife's aunt consoled his father-in-law by telling him not to worry because the marriage would not last. The key for the happy couple has been understanding and communicating with each other in spite of any differences. The Bitars now have 14 grandchildren and 16 great-grandchildren. Jordan's national football team and Al-Shama ended the World Cup qualification rally after they drew 0-0 with Uruguay in the second playoff tie in Montevideo. And Al-Shama were fiercely committed and frustrated the South Americans at times during the match and regained their confidence after the heavy defeat to Uruguay 0-5 in the first playoff tie in Amman last week. Jordan coach Hussam Hassan was pleased with his players' performance, and Uruguay coach Oscar Tabarez said he was pleased with the end result and understood why Jordan's packed defense gave 2010 semi-finalist Uruguay few openings.
We played the first match in Jordan well, but we weren't lucky. We played against very good, very strong team, among the best teams in the world, and I appreciate my team because they played very well today.
We're very satisfied because this ended with qualifying for the World Cup. We worked, we made the effort to have another final regarding the results, but one must recognize that we had a very difficult opponent that, besides preparing themselves well, speculated with time much and was able to play with dignity and take away a result that I suppose for them is very important. Finally, a look at the weather forecast. Slightly cold tonight across many regions with southwesterly fresh winds. A slight rise in temperatures is in the forecast for tomorrow, with pleasant weather prevailing across the highlands and moderate in the Jordan Valley, where temperatures will go up to the high 20s. Winds will be southeasterly to southwesterly brisk. It will be moderate tomorrow in the port city of Aqaba, with the appearance of high clouds. Winds there will be northerly changing to southerly brisk and seas slightly choppy. Next are the lows and highs for tonight and tomorrow. And to close, here is a reminder of the day's top stories. Prime Minister Abdullah Mansour receives the Anti-Corruption Commission's report for the year 2012 and voices the government's appreciation for the Commission's efforts to combat corruption. At least 25 people are killed and 30 wounded in a car bomb explosion in a busy market in northeastern Iraq. And Iran says major differences remain on the second day of the closed-door nuclear talks in Geneva. And that's the end of tonight's news. I'm Raad Liptouche. Thanks for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.